Alright, so one of the biggest issues in Call of Duty Zombies isn't necessarily just fighting the zombies, but also trying to figure out what sort of weapons work the best. One of the nice features about zombies is the pack-a-punch system, which basically, simply put, is just a way to upgrade your base weapon to something more powerful. It's something available in Zombies and is unique to that game mode, and it's something that I would say is also basically essential in a Zombies game if you're trying to finish the main Easter egg quest and you aren't trying to challenge yourself for some reason. The pack-a-punch system doesn't just upgrade the power of the gun, but there are some guns that you will see on this list that get some neat features like exploding ammo and more. So the idea is that you want to pick the best gun possible to pack-a-punch because you can pack-a-punch basically every weapon, but not all of them are as effective as others. So it's important to understand what weapons you want to use because it does cost quite a decent chunk of essence, so you don't want to just spend that hard work on a dud gun, you know what I mean? In any case, I don't want to linger on this intro any longer, so let's just get right into the list. Alright, so my favorite weapon to pack-a-punch is surprisingly the GS-45 pistol. If you're new to Zombies, this may come as a surprise to you because it doesn't always seem like it's one that would actually be effective against massive hordes of zombies. However, when I get into a zombies map, I always go for the GS-45 because you can really deal a good amount of damage without aiming down the sights, and you can pretty easily get some critical kills with this gun once you pack-a-punch it. It basically just becomes a grenade launcher. If you also upgrade it on top of pack-a-punching it using some scrap, you can really get a powerful weapon, plus you can get this to an akimbo system so that you get double the power. It's a good weapon all around, and I found it just generally more fun to use while I was playing through Zombies. If you're experienced in Zombies, you'll know that this was referred to as the Sally and Mustang when it was in an akimbo, but for the newer people, if you hear anyone say that, they're basically just talking about an akimbo GS-45. The pistol in its base form is obviously not going to be that great against zombies, and it can be harder to navigate, which is why I recommend you equip a solid weapon in your loadout, get into the game, and buy this one when you see it right away. It's usually in the early parts of a zombies map. That way you can get the essence you need and can pack-a-punch it quickly. Alright, next up is pretty much your trusty XM4. To be honest, I always call it the M4 because it's just a force of habit, but anyways, the XM4 is a decent weapon no matter the circumstance. It's probably the easiest to figure out and get used to, and it does hold a decent level of damage to it. Plus, it's a bit easier to get those critical kills with, and when you pack-a-punch it, it does become a really good gun at the end of the day. The XM4 in general is something that I consider an all-reliable type of weapon. It's basically the type of weapon that no matter what Call of Duty you play, it's worth using. I personally always get this weapon gold first for a reason, and I think that that makes it a bit easier to recommend pack-a-punching just because you may already have this weapon at a good level prior to getting into Zombies. Alright, let's get a shotgun on this list, and not just any shotgun, but specifically the AS-G89. Now, I found that when you add some good attachments to this gun and when it's pack-a-punched, it's a much stronger gun than you might think. It's not my favorite gun in general in Black Ops 6, but it's actually really good in Zombies. When you pack-a-punch this weapon, it becomes significantly stronger, it has a much higher rate of damage compared to the other weapons out there, and its bullet spread makes it a much more valuable weapon at the stage of when you pack-a-punch it. I think this one is great for getting out of a pinch when there are a lot of zombies just like hoarding around you. Firing a few bullets will help you run and maybe load up on armor or use a stim. It's bound to happen, so having a gun like this is definitely a solid. The SVD is a sniper weapon in Call of Duty, and although it has its uses in multiplayer, you wouldn't think about how good it is in Zombies because Zombies often just throws at you endless waves of zombies to just straight up attack you. However, when you pack-a-punch the SVD, it's not really just a sniper anymore because hip firing sort of turns it into a shotgun-like weapon with good bullet range which can easily get you out of a rough pinch. However, even when you ADS, it's still a great sniper with even more power so you can take out some of the rougher enemies in this game at a much faster rate with higher damage per bullet. You get about 3 projectiles per shot, so that's what gives it that sort of mock shotgun spread that you'd expect. As a general rule going forward, if you have a sniper rifle as your main gun, I do recommend you try and get another weapon in-game that allows you to have some sort of rapid fire, especially when you're trying to get lots of essence at the beginning, because sniping, if you're not really fast at it, can put you at a disadvantage in the early stages of the game when dealing with increasingly larger hordes. This may not seem like an obvious choice at first because the AS-VAL, although it is strong, has a smaller magazine capacity. When you play through Zombies, you'll often notice that you need as many bullets as you can get, and reloading can put you at a super big disadvantage and provide a window for zombies to attack, hoard you, and kill you basically. However, if you stick with it enough, you'll find that the AS-VAL is one of the best when you pack-a-punch it, and you can really shred through zombie hordes. Plus, you have a higher mag capacity which allows you to get more shots in before you need to reload, which is something vital at higher rounds in Black Ops 6 Zombies. The PP919, which I do believe was called the Bizon in other games, is probably one of the underdogs on this list that you might not actually thought would be as good as it actually is. So when you pack-a-punch this weapon, it becomes significantly faster at just decimating zombies. You take out massive crowds, and the mag capacity is obviously much larger. So this allows you to get the immense speed of the gun with the benefits of it being obviously more powerful after you pack-a-punch it. I personally find that this gun is really underrated for zombies. Your magazine size basically gets increased by 4 times the original size. So you can imagine that mowing down zombies with this becomes a pretty easy task compared to some of the other guns that don't have the same sort of mag capacity. Sniper rifles are honestly dominating in zombies, and the LR 7.62 is no exception. When you pack-a-punch this thing, it becomes a force of insanity in the game, and I mean it, because not only is it an effective and powerful weapon for sniping, but if you don't ADS, this thing is also really strong. The sniper rifles almost become like shotguns, I feel like, when you pack-a-punch them, so it's definitely something worth looking into in my opinion. You also get explosive ammo when you use this thing, which is in my opinion the reason why the GS45 is so good after pack-a-punching. Explosive ammo honestly just changes the game because it can incapacitate the zombies and force them to crawl if you don't necessarily like hit them directly. This makes it a lot easier to deal with than when they're just like sprinting at you, because if you want to like train the zombies kind of and you want to go through some of these like, you know, objectives without having to like move up around or whatever, so you're going through the main Easter egg quest, you can keep like a crawling zombie or two still alive, you know what I mean? But in any case, it's just easier also with these exploding bullets because you can take out a lot more of them at once. It's also kind of funny to watch and, you know, just like fly across the map, but you know, anyways, it's something that I think just makes sense for Black Ops 6 zombies. I will say that the only issue though with exploding rounds is that getting critical kills is not as easy to do because you are taking out more zombies, which means that you're not like headshotting all of them all at once, so you're getting less critical kills. So, and if you're grinding camos, you know that you're gonna need like 2,000 critical kills. So maybe this is something to consider if you don't care to grind the camos, you just want to play zombies, if you don't care about this point. But just in case you do, I'm putting that out there. Similar to the PP919, these submachine guns may require more bullets compared to other gun families, but when you pack-a-punch the Jackal PDW, this thing becomes absolutely amazing and really worth investing into. The speed, the power, and the accuracy that the submachine gun has is phenomenal, and I think that you'll find that it makes dealing with larger crowds of zombies easier, because you can nail those critical kills more and you can definitely mow a lot of them down. The firing grade gets a bit of a slight buff as well, but for the most part, I just think that the Jackal PDW is a pretty overpowered weapon in general. It really shows in the multiplayer, so I do believe that that rings true in zombies as well. I was trying to figure out which LMG I wanted to throw into the list, but honestly, they're all worth it because the LMGs are literally all powerful for zombies. I know that they are slower in terms of reloading, but if you have a giant crowd of zombies coming at you from all sides, it's much more sensible to pack-a-punch one of these, carrying it alongside maybe like a faster weapon like the PP919 or an AR, and just mow down zombies when you're overwhelmed and you need some crowd control. If you gotta reload, just switch to the faster weapon, and that strategy should help you out in my opinion. I wanted to include another assault rifle on this list, and I figured I'd choose one of my personal favorites, which has to be the AK-47. I feel like this is a sort of all reliable type of weapon in Call of Duty, aside from the M4 or the XM4 to be fair, but the AK-47 in zombies is really worth it, especially once you pack-a-punch it. The AK-47 also gains hyperburst, and although the magazine size doesn't go up as much as some of the other guns on this list, you still get that hyperburst, which is basically where it fires more than one round at the same time. So this makes it deal obviously more damage per shot. This does change depending on if it's set to semi-auto or full auto, so you can play around with this and decide more or less what you prefer to use in the game. I personally just prefer full auto. If you prefer semi-auto, go for it. So the AK-47 may not have as much of a magazine capacity as some of the other pack-a-punched guns, but it can help you get rid of some of those zombies at a much faster pace than you might think. Quick note, if you're wondering whether or not you need to keep pack-a-punching a weapon, the answer is like kind of a yes and no at the same time. So technically, after the first pack-a-punch, the weapon's already insanely strong. That's a given. But the more you pack-a-punch, the stronger it gets. The effects such as like exploding bullets and whatnot, that's just gonna remain the same. Once you pack-a-punch it once, that's just what you get. But the gun in general just gets stronger, and there's the max limit, but by then you're likely at higher rounds or you've been using directed mode and just been farming kills for like an hour or whatever. I wanted to kind of originally include some of the wonder weapons in the main list, but I felt like, you know, realistically speaking, any wonder weapon when pack-a-punched is gonna be like obviously good, because in all fairness, it's a wonder weapon, you know, that's for a reason. So I figured, you know what, let's throw it at the end. Honorable mention. Wonder weapons in their base form are already really powerful, so when you throw a pack-a-punch on there, they just become like, you know, unstoppable at some point. I didn't want to add these to the main list again because I feel like it's too obvious. Like, of course, the wonder weapons are going to be fantastic guns, but in general, I think if you do get that wonder weapon from one of the mystery boxes or you punch the vending machine enough times, I guess in Liberty Falls, yeah, it's worth to pack-a-punch at that point, you know, once you get that. But in any case, the 10 I listed above are obviously more accessible. Some of the main Easter egg quests are going to require you, like in Liberty Falls, to craft a wonder weapon, or in Terminus, you craft a wonder weapon. Honestly, once you get your hands on those, yeah, pack-a-punch them, there's no harm in that, but like, if you haven't gotten to that stage yet and you want to know which one of my base weapons should I be pack-a-punching right now, I do think that the 10 I mentioned above, of course the LMGs are kind of like 3 in 1, but you know what I mean. The 10 that I mentioned above are probably probably your best bet, honestly. But in any case, be sure to comment below which one of these weapons you'd consider your favorite to pack a punch, and if there's any others that aren't on my list that you also really like as well, do leave a comment below about those. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on another upload, and be sure to share this video. And that's all for today, folks.